Hi, I'm Dezounds and I'm back with our production quickie to keep you creative. This time I'm going to show you how to make reversed reverb rises, as I call them, like these.
Leute können vieles besser, meist im Gespräch wird es serious, sind sie extra leise und gehen.
Also I'm going to discuss their uses, different sources and why you would use them. You can skip to one of these parts using the timings I put in the description. First, here's how you create them. I start by recording any sound or duplicating a recording or sample I want to use. For now, I'm just gonna use a sample. Let's see. Packs. Let's take just a snare. We need one later anyway. Let's just take any. Then I reverse the recording. The easiest way to do so is using the reverse button in the sampler. So you open the sampler, this thing, and you just use the reverse button and you can see the sampler's reversed. Next up, I add reverb. Click, click, finished. Now it sounds like this. Now to create a long rise, we need a long decay. And for short rises, we need short decay. Like this. Now I record the reversed sample with the reverb. One way is to use Edison. You just put an Edison after your reverb. You click record and you just record it. Just make sure you record as long as the reverb needs to decay to 0. Then you can just drag and drop the sample into your playlist using this button. And you have your new sample. Now the only thing I have to do is reverse the new sample again. Just like I reversed the original sample using the reverse button. And I got myself a nice reversed reverb rise. Depending on how you want to use this rise, you probably want to chop off the actual hit like this. Now there are 3 basic things that you can use them for. The first one being a long rise to the next part. Those rises are usually at least 18 to 16 bars long, so be sure you use a long decaying reverb. I'm gonna show you, but first I delete the old one and I disable the reverb and the reversed. So now we're back to the start. This is the sample. We reverse it. I put a reverb on it, but this time with a really long decay. You can see it takes a long time to really go back to 0. So when we record it, make sure that you record it as long as the reverb actually goes, so it doesn't cut off at the end. I'm gonna do it real quick. Or not so quick. That's enough. Okay, now I cut off the head at the beginning because I know I don't need it, the hit, and I'm gonna drag the selection as a sample into the playlist like this. Now I normalize it, so the highest peak gets up to 0 dB or down, whatever, this in this example up, and I reverse it. And now I got my long rise to a next part, for example. Just be sure to disable your reverb that you only need for recording. These long rises are usually used to indicate that something's changing. For example, that the drop will happen, or the second part of the drop will happen, or the break will happen, or the song will be finished, or I don't know, any big change. Now if you use a short decay, you get yourself a mini rise. But first I'm gonna disable or undo everything I did, so I can show you from scratch. And we're back to the normal snare sample. Right, I disable reverb even. And we're back to the start. Now we do the same process again. Reverse, reverb, but this time short decay. Like this. And then we record it again. Take the rise part, like this, and drag it. And we reverse it. I'm gonna normalize it. Whatever. Disable the reverb again. And we got this. You can use them in the same place as the long rise, but have in mind that a long rise indicates a change, whereas the mini rise just tells you that there's gonna be a change right now. I'm gonna make a different video on rises in general, but this small rise is used to rise to a special sound, for example to the snare sound we used as the source. I unreversed it, and it sounds like this if the rise from the snare rises to the snare itself. So I don't like the snare in particular, but I think you get the idea. Let's try and make this work. Something like this. Of course you can't use these rises just to rise to something like a next part or a sound, but as a standalone ambient effect. To do so you best use a non-percussive sound, long decaying leads or voice samples or something like that. What you'll get is not actually a rise, but it still fits in this category, so I'm still gonna show you. First I'm gonna make a lead with citrus as always. I'm not gonna explain this one, because this one is about reverb rises and not about leads. Something, I don't care. So we got this. Now we put it through the same process. But this time, because it's not a recording, we have to record it first to be able to reverse it. So record. Now we got the sample. I'm gonna make a cut sample. This. Now we can reverse it. And put reverb on it. Like this. Now record it again. This time with the reverb. Reverse the new sample, and we got this. Now again, you can use this as a rise, like this. or you can just use this in a standalone effect, which is also cool. Also note that you don't have to stick to this process. You can add reverb in the end, which I did, god damn it. This is how it sounds without the reverb. You can add reverb in the end. You don't have to reverse the source sample. You can practically do any combination of record, reverse and reverb that sounds good to you. Don't force yourself to do it like I do it. But let's get to the next part. What sources can you use? I already showed you with the snare, so I'm gonna show you what happens with the voice. I'm gonna delete this one and this one. I got this little voice here from a friend of mine. Sounds like this. It's already a recording of more different voices, so it's not just one voice, if you're wondering.
Leute können vieles besser.
Without the reverb.
Leute können vieles besser, meist im Gespräch wird es serious, sind sie extra leise und gehen.
So it's German if you didn't notice. And now we're gonna do the same process with this sample. So I take the sample, just the cut that I want, I make it unique. So I get only this sample. I'm gonna reverse it.
Nicht nur sie Alaska is ne series, if mit sehr mass
Perfect. Add reverb.
Nicht nur sie Alaska is ne series, if mit sehr mass
Record it.
Nicht nur sie Alaska is ne series, if mit sehr mass
Paste it. And reverse it again. And I absolutely love this effect.
Leute können vieles besser, meist im Gespräch wird es serious, sind sie extra leise und gehen.
And again, don't limit yourself to what I just did. For example, if you combine the two samples,
Leute
like this.
Leute können vieles besser, meist im Gespräch.
And now you can add a little distortion on the reversed reverb. Something like this.
Leute können vieles besser, meist im Gespräch wird es serious, sind sie extra leise und gehen.
The last example I want to show you as a source is a plug lead. So I'm gonna undo everything I did, like this, and add a citrus. Now to get a plug, I'm not gonna explain again, something for another tutorial. Perfect. Now, nope. Yes. God damn it. Something like this, I don't know. Whatever. And now the whole process again. We record the sample. Now we reverse it, add reverb, record again. Drag again, reverse, maybe cut off the hit. And we get a nice rise. As you can see, you can use practically any source sound like snares, voice samples, leads, anything. I usually use a sound as the source that is actually present in the track, so the effect I get from it also blends into the track. But let's get to the last question. Why would you use them? In general, rises give your track a nice flow because they indicate what's coming and make it more expectable. Especially the mini rises you can use to add emphasis on one special sound, as I showed you with the snare. It's emphasis for the same reason, because the listener expects something, and when then the snare hits, he will notice it. Last point on why you should use them is because it's easy, but they're still unique. Usually what people use as these mini rises, for example, are just reversed crashes. There's nothing wrong with using this, but if you want some rises that actually fit into your track, just use as a source sounds that are actually in the track. It's almost as easy as using a reversed crash, but you get your own unique sounds. So much for now. I hope you feel inspired, because now it's your time to use reversed reverb rises in your tracks. Never stop making music, have a nice day, be excellent to each other. Until the next time.